First of all, it provides the group of persons or associations known as La Front de Libération de Quebec, and any successor group or successor association of said La Front de Libération de Quebec, or any group of persons or associations that advocates the use of force or the commission of crime as a means of or as an aid in accomplishing governmental change within Canada is declared to be an unlawful association. In other words, the government is creating a new crime, and I should point out in passing that it becomes a crime to be a member of an association which advocates the use of force or the commission of a crime. And of course, under the emergency powers the government now has, it could create a new crime tomorrow. I simply wish to say that I certainly want to see the law enforced. I certainly want to see those who are guilty of subversive activities prosecuted, punished. But I'm not prepared, Mr. Speaker, to see it made a crime to be the member of an association as such, particularly, Mr. Speaker, when you regard the measures relating to evidence in Section 8 on page 2. In any prosecution for an offense under these regulations, evidence that any person A attended any meeting of the unlawful association, B spoke publicly in advocacy for the unlawful association, or C communicated statements of the unlawful association as a representative or professed representative of the unlawful association, is in the absence of evidence to the contrary proof that he's a member of the unlawful association. Under that section, Mr. Speaker, it might be very well be, as I interpret it, that somebody might have attended a meeting of some association that is defined as unlawful in these regulations some time ago and could be convicted for an offense which carries, I think, up to 5 years of imprisonment. I think it's certainly we must protect our society. Certainly we must prosecute people who try violently to overthrow it or to use violence to achieve their purposes. I'm not convinced, Mr. Speaker, that we've reached the point where we have to make it defined as a crime simply because a man has been a member, or a person has been a member of an association, unless, of course, there's direct implication in the committing of a crime. When we consider, sir, the safeguarding of our society, we not only have to consider the enforcement of the law, the direct protection of society against the criminal acts of people, but we also have to consider the preservation of the strength of our society and not weaken it by adopting or making crimes, things like memberships in associations, and this could have, I suggest, quite widespread application throughout our country. I apologize, sir, for not making my remarks more succinct, but I haven't had an opportunity to see the regulations until a short time ago. I would therefore urge that the government, instead of seeking approval of the House of measures that is already taken, the invocation of the War Measures Act, that the government should heed what is said in the House today, and should, instead of seeking approval, should at the earliest possible date bring in a bill involving much more restricted powers, many more safeguards with regard to review, and a much more limited duration than this, Mr. Speaker. And I put these views forward very solemnly, sir, and very concerned that in our desire to deal with this tragic situation that's developed, our desire to deal with these terrorists who are a menace to our society, and our desire to do these things that are necessary, we don't weaken our social fabric by invoking powers that are far too extensive, creating new crimes on the spur of the moment, and not providing adequate safeguards for review. Thank you.
The honourable member for Nanaimo, Couch and the Islands.
Mr. Speaker, these last few days have been days of anxiety for all the people of Canada, and particularly for the members of this House who sit on the Treasury benches. We've all been appalled and disgusted with the abduction of two innocent men who are being held as hostages in an attempt to blackmail the government into releasing convicted criminals and to do certain other things which, in my opinion, were completely unreasonable. And because the situation is so delicate that we in this party have carefully refrained from making any statements or from asking any provocative questions, because we felt that the government should be given every opportunity to deal with what was an extremely difficult situation. We've gone along with the government on at least 2 or 3 matters. We've agreed with the government's refusal to accede to the outrageous demands of the kidnappers. I can understand the feelings of those sensitive individuals whose first reaction was that the government should deal with the kidnappers and should be prepared to accede to their demands. And I would not go so far as the Prime Minister's to call them weak-kneed and bleeding hearts. I think they are people with a great sensitivity and a great sense of the value of human life. But I think such people overlook 2 important facts. The first is that complying with the demands of the abductors would not necessarily guarantee the safe return of the 2 men whom they had taken as hostages. And second, and even more important, acceding to the demands of the kidnappers would only set in motion a whole series of similar incidents, and nobody knows where the road would end.